The average number of failures preceding that was about 6.
Mm-hmm.
So because with each failure, you have a chance to stand back and analyze what went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So the next time you go, you don't repeat those same mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And until eventually you realize that you're so damn sharp that you finally actually really succeed.
Right.
You know? But that process can only occur if you're taught to fail forward, in a sense. That the failure is something, the experience that is so valuable, because it's through that analysis that you're going to be able to do better the next time. I feel sorry for the kids that just got lucky and succeeded in their first go around, because they're in for some major emotional falls when this next time they try something, it doesn't go as well.
Right.
I mean, they're totally dismayed. They have no idea what went wrong because they never really were able to analyze why they were successful the first time.
Or if they were successful by luck, and then when it breaks, they aren't able to fix it because they don't understand what it really took, to make it happen, other than luck.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Henry, when you were talking about the 80s, we're giving all these kids just awards for showing up. I mean, I think there's a lot to that. I mean, you want to encourage them to do it, but there needs to be, what's the word? It's almost like the people that lost, the ones that didn't come out too well, the ones that failed, by awarding them as well. It's almost like saying, gee, we don't really want you to fail. It's too bad if you failed, and it's like you don't want to fail and so forth. Making it almost a stigma. I don't know if we countered that by doing that or not. And yet, failure is such an essential part of being able to grow, such an essential part of actually becoming strong, that in some ways it's like when you do robotics. You take on a project, doesn't do that well,
Mm-hmm.
But by doing that, and you analyze what you did wrong, the next one you're going to build is going to be quite a bit different as a result of the things that didn't go quite right. And I would say, if anything, this methodology that you've created to get kids drug into these experiences is going to mean that a lot of the things they're going to attempt to do are going to be able to be improved upon. Now, these robots, when you first start, the types of things you try to get them to do, the different functionality that you try to get them to do, they aren't necessarily going to be economically viable, right, in a free market, for example.
Right.
But if you maintained that effort and continue to improve on each of the weaknesses of the process that you just did, you'd be surprised. You could still be in your 20s and you could have, a robot that is marketable, that is a world beater, with that kind of focus and attention and ability to pick up the pieces after it didn't work and try again. I don't know, it'd be curious to see how the kids respond to the idea of, look, you've got these robots. We have these shop classes we went each year, again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the kids were allowed to actually, I was one of them, where we became what they call industrial occupations. Okay. So you spent not just 1 hour, you spent the whole morning in that class.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to repeat that year after year after year, if you think about what would happen if they were to apply themselves to this field of robotics, which includes so many of the disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about the disciplines involved to build something like that, and it covers almost all the shop classes that we just discussed. It's I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. And it ought to be considered as a sort of the modern replacement of the old-fashioned shop class.
Interesting.
Yeah, ironically, Disney has hit on this. We went down to the Epcot Center this last summer, and actually my kids were going, oh, we want to go to the place where all the rides. So they didn't want to go, but then we ran into the robotics section, and my daughters, they got to design their own machine.
Okay.
And then you get to ride it.
Right.
Right, what you design, and that had a great impact on them. They loved that. They still talk about that was really great.
To be able to build.
And that was just one. Then we went on to another one where you design your car. And then you get to ride in this car, which has, everything you put on that in the Epcot Center, and they love that. So actually, they didn't miss the other rides. This was, like you said, hands-on. And it was rewarding. I did this, and the result was this. Oh yeah, the car lost to the other people because I put this on it, but that was okay. I designed it myself.
You designed it yourself.
Exactly.
Wow. That's good stuff. So, We have a problem. Schools are testing, not because they want to test, but because they are being mandated to test. We have these programs in expanded learning after school. We have to get parents to volunteers and mentors, but we have a deficit of that. I'd like to hear your ideas on what we can do to get more volunteers and mentors to work with the kids. Because the teachers, at the end of the day, they've been teaching all day, and when it's time to go, they're ready to go because they usually have to grade papers or prepare tests for the next day. So, how do we offset that deficit? Let me hear some of your bright minds.
Good grief, William, talk about a tough question. I mean, that's not, oh, sure, I'm just got a head full of answers for that one. God, obviously, internships in the summertime is huge. I think that's that's really important. How about if we were to give businesses tax credits for mentoring kids during the summer? We don't pay the kids anything, but they actually get to come in, and we set up a little program where they get to do some hands-on work doing whatever.
Mhm.
And obviously there'll be some businesses that might find that difficult, but if you have a profit and you want to increase your profit, taking a little less taxes might be a way of getting these kids more involved. I mean, the best incentives are the ones where people are drawn into it because there's dual advantages. This one's got a couple of things going for it. I know because I've had kids that have come in here and I've often, interns and so forth. What I've discovered is that some of them later I'm planning on hiring. I got to know them and I got to see what they were doing, and it's extremely valuable. In Switzerland, I read an article about the banking industry there.
Mhm.
And the people that are running the banks there never went to school at all. They would get started working at the bank when they were like, 8, 9, 10 years old. And that's where they learned the whole business. These are highly sophisticated men that are well adjusted. They never went to school, yet they seem to be doing pretty well. Sometimes you wonder, really, how important schools are. Maybe we'd be better off just taking some of these kids in whatever levels they can, just get started in life. I wonder. They talk about the level of reading that kids had in, let's say, the 1830s. Well, the literacy rate was higher then than it is today. If you look at the kind of algebra and the math that they were doing, it's far superior than what we're doing today, and yet there was no public schools at all. So it's like, are there other ways in which we can raise kids where they can learn these disciplines? Does it have to be a public school? Does there have to be this kind of regimentation? It's like maybe business should be drawn into it even further. Maybe some of these large businesses could offer schools of their own, as one of the benefit packages for coming there. It'd be interesting to see if that's, if we could explore some of these other alternatives to getting our kids educated.
Well, I guess any business owner would like tax breaks for internships.
That's why I brought that up. I thought it was, it's got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're going in the other direction, though. I think now they're saying that you can't even bring in an intern unless you pay them at least minimum wage.
I heard that.
They're going the other way.
Yeah.
They're going to penalize you. Because they don't realize that when you bring in a kid to do internship, you're using up time, your resources are being used up. You're not going to get any that 3 months or the 2 months that he's going to be with you during the summer. You're not going to get any economic bottom line value, really.
Right.
Mostly it's you're just giving these. God, remember in the old days? I think way back, people used to pay to become an apprentice, and go to work basically, and actually pay the guy to let you go in and work because you were going to learn that trade and you could become something.
Right.
That was like school in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So free internships certainly. It gives a kid a chance to come in and do something, but it should be recognized by everybody that. You're not going to get that. The businessman is not going to get that much from that experience that's going to be added to his bottom line. Right. That is, in a sense, giving back already. The fact that you're going to have to pay the kid $10 an hour on top of it is certainly going to limit. I think it's actually going to reduce the number of internships that actually happen.
That are up. Yeah, that makes sense. What do you have to say about? What are your ideas?
I saw, you know, what Paul said actually echoes that short documentary that you put on for me, which was fascinating.
Oh, Sir Ken
Actually,
Robinson. The video that I sent to you with Sir Ken Robinson.
I started to watch it. I think I did see that, where they're doing all the drawings and stuff.
Yes.
And they actually brought up what Paul was saying, you know, the way it was industrialized is fit the kids by age, you know, and it's difficult, you know, it's not a federal law to have education, it's state, and you see how each state, you know, is different, each county is different, and I guess one size doesn't fit all, like Bruce Lee said, you know, be like water, and I guess we would have to be more flexible. Actually, that would benefit many things. I mean, if there's kids who are advanced, like I said in the documentary, you know, they get frustrated because they're held back by the medium person. Then the person who needs attention is frustrated because the teacher is so busy with 30 other students, they can't focus on the people who need it. The ones who can be independent, you know, let them go and do their own thing. And if they're, you know, out in the college at 12 years old, why do they have to wait to 17? If you could go to college at 12 and be adjusted,
Right.
you know, I mean, the other stuff comes in, not let them, you know, go ahead and let them do that. But the thing with the parents' involvement, it's difficult. I know in Scouts, some of the parents, you know, they're working 2 to 3 jobs.
Mm.
There may be, a lot of them are single parents. You know, remember, a lot of the households are single mother households. You know, and that may even happen even at the middle class. I mean, it's hard for them to spend extra time when they're just trying to put something on the plate. But that's where, like he was saying, maybe interns from high school will give back to maybe the middle school and grade school, like the Scouts do. They come and they may be the judges for robotics or so, which encourages their skills as leaders and also using their math skills, because now they're under pressure not to mess up in front of the younger kids. And I think that we should do that with tutoring. Why do we have to wait for adults to do it? Why don't you just take the kids who are up in other classes? That reinforces their self-esteem. While here I am teaching, you know, I'm a 9th grader and I'm helping these 7th graders, and that reinforces their skills. And the same, you know, bring back some of the shops and stuff. We just want this flexibility. We want to present the opportunity to the kids, and we want to, you know, allow them to just have a choice, which really under the system you don't have it.
So if we did away with those classes that teach citizenship and let them get a credit for going back and working with the kids in, say, middle school and grade school, they're doing, is that something that you guys see as viable?
Are you more efficient? I mean, when do you need the citizenship one? I mean, you might want to do it right before you graduate from high school to know your Miranda rights and stuff, which might be critical, which we don't teach.
Right.
You know, by the way, we don't teach the critical skills, you know, the Constitution. I mean, they learn a little bit of it when they're younger, but I mean, really teach them what they really need to know for that. But does it take 8, 9, 12 years of it? No, it may be able something at the end, maybe a seminar before they come into senior year. Like when I used to take driver's ed and health, you did it as a summer school thing. You don't have to take up a whole semester with some of the stuff, and you direct your efficiency toward the courses that you really need. Like you're saying, the time for, you know what I mean? So, you know, so sociology, you know, let's deal with this maybe in a